Hi, this is Simon Candish and welcome to another Marvelous Videos. When John Carpenter first released Halloween in 1978, he changed the horror scene in cinema and showed us a new world of terror and spookiness. This movie was an instant hit with the audience and even introduced the infamous horror villain Michael Myers. Myers became a pop culture icon and is known as one of the most notorious horror villains of all time. While his terrifying mask is enough to spook most people out, he also has various other physiological features that shape his character. Today we will explore Michael Myers' anatomy and tell you everything about him. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
You can't kill the boogeyman.
Is he just a schizophrenic sociopath? Most fans have theorized that Myers had a mental disorder, but he was never diagnosed formally during any of the movies. Regardless, his symptoms indicated that he must have schizophrenia, as well as antisocial personality disorder, which essentially means that he was also a sociopath. While these disorders can be treated, and not everyone diagnosed with them would display violent tendencies, Myers most definitely exhibited behaviors that fit into these disorders' descriptions. He had trouble forming relationships and showed less empathy towards anyone, which both supported the theory that he is a sociopath. He also suffered from confused thinking, false beliefs about others, and decreased social engagement. In a book related to the movie, was even described as a person who hears voices that make him hate people, which is quite a textbook symptom of schizophrenia. Some fans have also observed Michael's inability to run after his victims, and that could indicate that he specifically has catatonic schizophrenia, wherein a person has difficulty moving and experiences inactivity. A deleted scene in the original movie also shows Myers sitting in one place for hours and remaining still, as if he was in a catatonic stupor, furthermore supporting this theory. However, Dr. Loomis then seems concerned that Myers may be faking catatonia, so the doctors believed he's harmless. While his behavior points to catatonic schizophrenia, Myers' mental illnesses were not specifically in the movies. However, critics as well as fans have widely agreed on the fact that Michael Myers is a schizophrenic sociopath. Why does he wear a mask, and what does his real face look like? Michael Myers also keeps his face hidden behind a mask, and fans have noticed that this mask resembles William Shatner. This is because the mask was actually a Captain Kirk mask that was painted white in color. The mask was then altered a little by cutting the eye holes to be bigger. Myers wore his Star Trek-inspired mask for most of the movies, and the appearance of this mask did have some changes across the franchise. Nevertheless, Michael's bone-chilling look while wearing this white mask is engraved in fans' minds. Michael revealed his true face once in the original movie, and then again in the fifth Halloween movie titled Revenge of Michael Myers. When Rob Zombie got involved in the production of the movies, Myers was often seen without a mask for the majority of the movies. Myers' face was never really seen in any of the movies because it takes away the fear and makes him appear as just an ordinary human being who is committing some crimes. When Michael hides behind a mask, his creepy mannerisms and his robotic, rigid style of walking and interacting with his victims bring an element of fear that would otherwise be missing from the movies. Moreover, the audience would start humanizing Michael and even view him with sympathy if he shows his true human character. The faceless, nameless mask adds mystery and terror to his character design and makes him appear as an evil entity devoid of emotion. How tall is Michael Myers? Myers also appears as a tall, looming figure, making him an even more terrifying character. Michael Myers' character was played by Nick Castle in the original film, where his height was 5 feet and 10 inches. Over the years, different actors have played this role, and Tyler Mane played Michael in Rob Zombie's Halloween films in 2007 and 2009. Tyler Mane is around 6 feet 8 inches tall, and thereby Michael Myers also appeared as a very tall, daunting character whose height only adds to the terror. Is Michael Myers incapable of running? While Michael Myers' victims, they often try to run away from him to save themselves, fans have noticed that Michael never chases after them. He's never seen running in any of these situations, yet he somehow always manages to capture his victims by simply walking up to them and catching up. This element makes him come across as an even scarier entity, since his victims find themselves taking a breath of relief after fleeing, only to discover that he's managed to catch up with them. Some fans have discussed that Myers might not be able to physically exert his body enough to run, while others believe that this is just an added element to make the character appear more frightening. However, another theory suggests Michael's inability to run stems from his mental illness. Since fans believe that he has schizophrenia, various theories suggest that he might have catatonic schizophrenia, slowing down while walking, going into a stupor and standing in one place, being unable to move, and feeling a sense of sluggishness are marks of catatonic behavior, which explains why Michael Myers finds himself having a hard time running after his victims. His body has suffered some serious damage. Michael Myers' body has suffered quite some damage, and his fingers and eyes have especially been seriously injured. While Michael can't be defeated easily, his opponents have managed to harm him on some occasions, and he once faced Laurie in a recent Halloween film where he lost 2 of his fingers. During this encounter, Michael broke into Laurie's house and had a much-awaited fight where Laurie used a shotgun to shoot at Michael. The shot ended up blowing off a couple of his fingers, but Michael did not seem to care, and he continued to go after Laurie, even with an injured hand. This was quite an extreme atomical change that stayed with Michael for the rest of the film, and he did view it as a major issue. In another scenario, the poster for the 2018 Halloween movie showed that Michael had a damaged left eye. In the very first Halloween film, Laurie attacked Michael with a coat hanger and stabbed him right in his eye. The movie creators stuck to this detail and ensured that it was written into the later film, since Michael had suffered from permanent eye damage due to this incident. Moreover, Laurie had once even shot Michael in both of his eyes in Halloween 2. Throughout the franchise, Myers has also suffered multiple other gunshot wounds. In the original movie, Dr. Loomis shot him around 6 times, but Myers managed to survive all of these attacks. Laurie later shoots him in almost all the movies, but he manages to get away with just some damage to his fingers and eyes.
It's time, Michael.
Does Michael Myers have a conscience? Michael Myers is essentially portrayed as a sociopath with no empathy for others, and he does not come across as an ethical character with a conscience. However, he momentarily showed a moment of kindness in the 2018 Halloween movie, where he made an ethical decision by sparing a child's life. While even the idea of harming a child sounds quite extreme, Myers is essentially a sociopath with no moral code. He also has an inherent evil residing within his body that drives him to kill people. So when he enters a woman's home and decided to attack her with a knife from her own home, the audience assumed that no one in the house would survive Myers' attack. Much to our surprise, Michael came across a very young child in a crib inside the house and had a moment where he decided to spare the child's life and not do him any harm. This goes against Myers' usual character, and the movie's director, David Green, even added that this was a pretty last-minute decision after an adult actor who was supposed to be in the scene did not arrive at the set. While this was not a deliberate decision, it gave the audience some hope that Myers has not entirely lost all of his morality, and that he does have some conscience at the very least. Can Michael Myers reproduce? Could he possibly raise a child? Michael Myers did not show great interest in having intimate relations, and it was quite likely that he would go after a woman and end her life rather than reproduce and father a child. The inherent evil within him causes him to act in ways beyond reason, and he also does not seem like the best person to raise a child. He's also not mentally fit to raise children or take care of them, and he could even risk passing off his violent tendencies to his children, even if he managed to raise them. Myers also seems to have an unhealthy relationship with intimacy, and a theory suggests that he attacks women and takes their lives because he fears intimacy. He had even attacked his sister's naked body and stabbed it repeatedly, and he later developed quite an obsession with Laurie. In some ways, fans theorized that there's an unspoken desire between Myers and Laurie, and that his fixation with her prevented him from claiming her life in the same manner he went after his other victims. In fact, Myers would even hide outside her house and keep an eye on her, but nothing ever really happened between them. Myers is a sexually repressed sociopath, and it was quite a surprise for fans when Michael turned out to father a child with his niece, Jamie. Fans had a tough time believing that he actually engaged in an intimate relations with her. And this movie's plot also did not entirely take off, since it showed Michael in a somewhat different form. Just how physically strong is Michael Myers? Michael Myers has incredible physical strength, and he once even flipped an entire car with his bare hands in Rob Zombie's Halloween films. He can even lift his victims into the air, and he once even propelled himself into the air and hit on the ceiling by just holding onto a pipe for some support. The logic behind Myers' strength comes from the fact that Halloween is the day when spirits and demons are at their peak, and Myers becomes invincible and gains his strength from the demon within him. He even shows a very good endurance and power due to this reason, and he is at the peak of his physique around Halloween. In Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, it was hinted that Michael belonged to a cult that worships Thor, and that he gained his strength and powers through this cult. While Myers is human, he does derive his strength from the demon within him, and he emerges around Halloween and uses all his strength to go after his victims. It's a supernatural angle to Michael Myers' story officially confirmed. Michael Myers has always managed to escape death, and fans have even wondered if he's a supernatural entity who can't be killed. This was explored in the Halloween Kills film, wherein Myers was introduced to a supernatural being. In a typical fashion, Myers was just a deranged human who committed murders with the help of any available weapons, such as a knife or any such tool. Recently, the Halloween Kills movie showed Myers in an extreme form, where he survived multiple attacks by Laurie Strode and the firefighters. He then killed them all and entered the town of Haddonfield, where he was the target of many attacks, but he somehow managed to ignore all his injuries and continued killing others. He was cornered by multiple men who beat him, stabbed him, and even left him to die, but he still survived. The others later discussed that Michael cannot be killed by such means, and that he is a force of nature that keeps deriving strength and growing stronger with every new killing. The movie ends with Michael standing strong after being attacked by multiple people, hinting that he might be a supernatural entity who can't be harmed by ordinary weapons. Is he immortal, or can he be defeated? Fans have often theorized that Michael is immortal, which makes sense since he's been stabbed, shot, blown up, beaten up, and even electrocuted. Despite any of the efforts taken by his opponents, Michael has managed to recover and live on, and this has led to a common belief that Michael is immortal. Myers is also a pulp culture icon, and his presence in the movies has led to a lot of success, which is why the creators have always hesitated to kill him. In fact, some of the franchise producers even had a clause stating that Michael Myers cannot die in the movie, which is why the screenwriters keep coming up with new ways to ensure he evades death. While Michael always ends up in some life-threatening situation or the other at the end of every film, he always returns to his usual form. While Michael has been injected with poison, thrown out of cars, and even cornered by an angry mob, he always manages to live on because none of these instances destroy him. It's also theorized that Michael is possessed by an ancient Celtic evil that gives him strength and even drives him to kill other people. This essentially makes him invincible, and fans have suggested that the only way to truly kill him is by destroying his body and the evil within him. If Michael had to be defeated, the best way to go about it would be completely obliterating his body and ensuring that no part of him survives or even makes it out of the attack alive. It was also suggested that beheading Michael, getting rid of his body parts and then exposing him to radiation or fire so that he cannot regenerate any part of his body parts would finally result in this destruction. At the end of the day, there's no saying how Michael might bounce back from this, and the screenwriters could even make him regenerate himself from ashes, but one can hope that there might be some way to surely kill Michael Myers and the evil within him. Conclusion. To sum it up, Michael Myers is one of the most iconic villains of all time, and he's made his mark in the world of horror. He has become a pop culture icon who is written into comics, films, and series even today, and his terrifying appearance has given countless nightmares to audiences. Myers' unique anatomy and scary mask have also made him one of the most well-defined horror villains, and this contribution to the success of the Halloween franchise has not gone unnoticed. And if you liked our content, well, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.